feel like your ideas aren't good enough? Or maybe you've got so many ideas you don't even know which one to chase. Which one do you take the time, spend the money, and invest your energy into developing into a picture book? If you've ever doubted your creativity or felt buried under a mountain of creative ideas, this video here is here to validate and liberate your creative mind. I'm going to help you see the value in your ideas, but not only that, I'm going to give you really practical ways to help them get out into the world so they're not living in your head and they can become stories. And stick around the channel because in the video that follows this one next week, I'm going to share with you the tech and the tools that help you keep track of it all. Let's go into my writing room and validate your ideas. I am a person with an abundance of ideas. They bubble up from within me. They fall out of heaven onto me. They're just sort of everywhere. And if I let myself, I could just live every day in 1,000 ideas and never get anything done. And so I've had to, as a creative person, learn to sort my ideas and know which ones are truly highlighted to become my next story. And I've done this over many years, and I'm excited to teach you some of my systems for idea generation and what I call collecting and checking the ideas. Every good idea is the start of a good picture book, and every good picture book has to start with a good idea. And today I'm going to not only validate your ideas, but I'm going to help you collect and check them and give you some really practical tips for how to get organized. And this is going to help you determine whether you want to spend your time, energy, and money into turning an idea into a picture book. So let's go over idea generation, idea collection, and idea checkpoints. It's important to note that understanding idea checkpoints becomes a lot easier after we grasp the fundamentals of plot and the makings of a good story. And so I'm going to introduce the concept of checkpoints to you right now, but they're going to make a lot more sense later. And when we go into future lessons, and we cover the structure of a good story in more detail, you're going to say, aha, now I understand what I need to run my ideas up against as far as checkpoints. So we'll revisit this concept of checkpoints later, but I want to introduce to you the concept now. The power of ideas is like nurturing seeds of creativity. Throughout life, ideas have had a profound impact on us. Every amazing thing in the world has started as an idea, a tiny spark in someone's mind. This concept affects all aspects of life, not just picture book creation. In the realm of picture books, our imaginations foster ideas, and these ideas are the seeds that hold the potential to grow into magnificent, world-changing stories. But we first need to examine the little seed and know how to nurture it. Ideas are the sparks that ignite us. They're the whispers that call us to explore new worlds, and the visions that drive us to express our innermost thoughts and dreams. I can't overstate the importance of your ideas, and it's truly one of my heart's desires to validate your ideas, that you would leave knowing that every little idea, no matter how silly it seems, that pops to your mind is of great value and potential, but as a creator, you get to use the discernment on how far you take that idea into existence. In my own creative life, I've begun to recognize that my ideas are one of the main ways that God speaks to me, that God connects to me in the form of these little tiny sparks of thought. And when I began to recognize and foster these thoughts, my relationship with God got so much closer, and I became way more aware of His love and presence in my life just through these simple, what seem to be small ideas. One of my main objectives is that we would learn to validate each other's ideas, that we would never steal, smush, belittle, or abuse ideas in any way, shape, or form, but that we would support each other and foster the smallest idea into a big dream, and that we would understand that ideas are a way that we are each connecting to God, and that we would treat ideas like sacred space. And in me sharing this with you today is my way of validating your ideas, but also inviting you into a world of fostering the seeds within you and commissioning you forward to know that your ideas from God can become great and magnificent world-changing creations. So one thing that I've learned about these little idea seeds is that they're pretty delicate. They take tender, loving care, especially at first. I've also learned that they're kind of sneaky. They sort of fly on by, or they bubble up and disappear very quickly, and that they come to us in unexpected moments. They come when we're walking, when we're doing a mundane chore like the dishes or vacuuming, or when we're drifting off to sleep. And because they are sneaky and quick and unexpected, we fail often to capture them and collect them properly. Sometimes, and I've been guilty of this time and time again, I will think, oh, I'll certainly remember that. There's no way I'm going to forget that good idea. And within a minute, it's gone from me. I do forget it because they're so quick. And I have learned that I have to be very intentional about capturing and collecting my ideas. Quick pause in the middle of today's video. If you're really serious about writing picture books for kids, I wanna make sure you know about the other playlist that I have called Writing Picture Books. It's a class, it's a free class right here on YouTube, where lesson by lesson, step by step, I take you through all the foundational skills of writing picture books for kids, everything from how to know your target age and word count, building plot and structure, developing memorable characters and vivid settings, writing that messy first draft, revising and editing. It's all covered over there in that playlist called Writing Picture Books. I also have provided links to a downloadable printable resource called Writing Exercises. It's picture book writing exercises. It's a companion book that goes along with every lesson so that you can not just be watching and listening to all of this great educational material, but you can start doing. Doing the work is where you're going to really transform. And that's what I want to hold you accountable to. I want you to start writing, to do the work. So that's all I wanted to say in the middle of today's video. Enjoy the rest of the video. It's almost like you can imagine my heart to be like a bit of a jar where I'm going around catching lightning bugs. They light up, they're disappearing, but I'm going around catching them and putting them in the jar, because the more that I can collect, the more I'm able to sort through to know what to develop. And so the collection of your ideas is so very important. We can't collect them until we validate them. So what I shared with you earlier in the lesson, validating your ideas as being special and unique sparks from God Himself, this is very important. And then we move into, because we know they're valuable, we can begin to capture them. When we capture them, we have to collect them. And how do we do that? How do we actually track it? Well, I'd say first, collect your ideas in a way that works for you. Whether that's pen and paper in a journal, a list on your counter, whatever works for you. But I'm going to share with you in just a moment some real tried and true kind of idea collection processes that I have developed for myself that really help me track and hone in on my good ideas. Before we move on, I want to share with you a couple of impactful quotes. As Walt Disney once said, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. This courage begins with recognizing the value of our ideas and giving them the space to grow. Just as a gardener tends to their plants, we must tend to our ideas with dedication. And I call that stewardship. What happens here is you become a steward of your ideas. Albert Einstein reminded us, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Our imagination knows no bounds. It springs up with the power to change the world, but sometimes we gotta harness it and kind of like rein it all in and make it make sense. I also want to share with you in Proverbs 8:12, we read, I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. I possess knowledge and discretion. This verse highlights the connection between wisdom and creativity. And as we have this bubbling spring of ideas, we got to use wisdom and discernment to curate them. So, what are some actual practical ways that I curate ideas? First, I have to capture them, as I said. To capture our ideas effectively, we need to understand their source. Now, I talked a moment ago about the source of our ideas being in the Spirit, from God, just all around us, bubbling up, coming from heaven. It's just sort of like mysterious inspiration. But for me personally, I have to recognize that this source does come in these unexpected moments that I talked about, and I have to intentionally become aware. So my first challenge to you today concerning your ideas is to open your eyes to them in the small, unexpected moments. In the most unexpected, mundane moments of life, you're going to have these little whispers that almost sound like, what if? Or that could be a good story, or that's funny. I wonder if, and you'll just start to have these little moments that could become something if they go through the right stewardship, checkpoints, and development. So I had this thought that came to me one morning when I was taking a walk and it was a bit rainy. I kept having to step over worms on the sidewalk. There were so many worms, and this weird little thought came to me where I was like, it's like a worm parade. And I could let that thought go. Probably most people have random little thoughts like that. Oh, it's like a worm parade. But as a picture book writer, as someone who is looking to steward ideas into fascinating tales to impact children, I need to collect that kind of thought. It's a worm parade. So I could have moved on thinking about my day. I probably had a lot on my mind that day. But instead, I just realized, okay, that was one of these moments. I have to just take a second here and think about this word parade. So what I have to do in order to remember that good idea at a later date when I can perhaps add it into my creative queue, I need to document it somewhere. And backing up here a minute, my point being that this idea came to me in a very ordinary moment of life. And so you understanding where and when your good ideas arrive to you is going to help you to capture them. So always remember, ideas are special. They're sacred, whether they're coming out of you as silly or serious, fully formed or fleeting. Always pay attention and try to capture your ideas, because every good story starts with a simple idea. And every simple idea has the makings of a good story. You just need to take it like clay in your hands and begin to mold it. And that's what I'm here for on this channel, is to help you begin to take your ideas out into the world as stories. If you found this video helpful as I validated your ideas, stay tuned for next week's video where I share with you all of the tools and the systems that I use to create my ideas into stories before they disappear. So basically the tech part of this idea capture. You're going to really enjoy it. I use my phone, computer, and a few different programs, and I'm going to show you how I do it in next week's video. Until next time, picture book creators, do all those things, hit the bell, the like, subscribe, share it with a friend. I'll see you around the channel. Bye for now.